Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the situation report for the day of 1159, 27th of April for the Ukraine war or the special military operation in Ukraine. So we have this news is no longer that breaking. Vladimir Putin has thanked the North Korean troops. So the presence of North Korean troops in the Ukraine in the Kursk front is now confirmed. Because the Russian side has acknowledged the presence of North Korean troops, and I think, if I'm not wrong, Kim Jong-un also have announced the presence of the North Korean troops in the help of fighting on the Russian side to liberate the Kursk region. So that this is all confirmed, and as per discussions. No, in DP Open Mic, or also when I mentioned about the North Koreans, similarly, because the Russians and the North Koreans have a military alliance treaty. So the alliance treaty means that it is legitimate and actually within international law for North Koreans to actually help the Russians in the Kursk region. So this is a foregone conclusion, and this also corroborates my assessment that with the POWs that was captured, the North Korean POWs, that was my confirmation of the presence of North Korean troops. The involvement is hard to tell, but according to the Russians, they basically fought in the front line. So we go to I would say this is becoming a Sumy front. We are now in the transition between Kursk and Sumy front. According to the Russian reporting, they have reported that the fighting is now at Yunakivka, Satki, Zapsilia, and also the Russian sources is still talking about Oleshnya, because similarly Ryba and DPA we have the same very similar methodology where we look for sources. So the thing is that there is still no sources or information or geolocations to confirm the Russians' capture of Oleshnya. And geolocation of Russian forces having some tragedy in the west of Loknia. However, that confirms the Russian presence in that region, in the Sumy region. Shelling is reported at Marine. So this geolocation I have mentioned during the Frontline Changes report. It was two quad bike or motorbike that was racing down the open ground, and then they hit mines, if I'm not wrong. But then this also confirms that this entire region here has no Ukrainian troops, and the Russians basically have taken control of this thing. So like I said, it doesn't matter is it a Russian or Ukrainian geolocation. Usually geolocation tends to be bad news. Like geolocated Russian or Ukrainian troops are usually them dying. So as much as it is a show of a presence, is also is a tragedy, just in case you do not know. So that's all. There's nothing over at the Belgorod incursion region. We move on. So tentatively we will still call this the Kursk front, but I'm very tempted to just change it to Sumy front. But let's see. Over at the Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv front, we only have Voschansk. Fighting is being reported by the Ukrainians, so that's all at Voschansk. Nothing else in the Kharkiv front. We move on to the Voreshna front, which is here. The big news at Voreshna was the declaration of the capture of Kamyanka by the Russian Defense Ministry. They have declared that a Western group of forces have liberated Kamyanka, and which is we totally cannot corroborate this. The only geolocation we have is still pretty much where the front line is. This is the newest geolocation. Russian forces basically only advanced like a house, like one or two buildings. A distance only 150 meters. So it's not particularly a big capture in terms of the frontline change. So we do not know what's the reality. They declare the capture. I would say that there's a high chance it's true, but we need the mapping and or geolocations to confirm that. Otherwise, so this is declared by the Russian side. Nearby, fighting is reported at Krasny so the fighting is still happening around here. So that's all. Over in the southern flank, we have fighting reported over at Shakivka. So that this is reported by the Ukrainians. So some fighting around this sector, but that's all. It's nothing breakthrough no, in this area. Over in the Kupiansk front. This is Kupiansk. Fighting is reported at Kupiansk, Petropavlivka, and shelling reported at Kupiansk Voslovi. But that's all. Nothing over on the eastern side of the front line. We move to the Borova front. So this is the Borova front. This is Borova. Fighting is reported over at Sankove. It could be also just shelling reports. Fighting is reported at Zaridove, Novokryakivka, and Nadia. So that's the situation around here. Oops, I was like, my mouse. Sorry, give me a second. My mouse dragged the camera. So so that's all in this area here. And but still the two-prong attack. Nothing particularly special about this. We move to the next front line. Over in the Liman front, this Liman, this is the northern flank. This is the south. Over in the northern flank, there is fighting reported over at Stepove, shelling at Vishev Solone. Then we have fighting reported at Novi Mirny, Rikodov, and Nove. The strategic situation didn't seem to change. There is a flanking operation or no diversionary attack over in the north, whereas the main push seems to be still around this area here. So this strategic situation did not change. So we'll continue to monitor the situation and I'll see whether anything changed. Over in the southern flank, we have fighting reported at Koloziazi, Yampolivka, and Zarishny. The fact that there is still fighting at Yampolivka puzzles me. How is there still fighting at Yampolivka? Is this a trap? No. So like this is ridiculous. This is merely like a 3 by 3 kilometers front line, but it takes like forever. So very curious. We move to the Siversk front. At the Siversk front, we have fighting reported at Verkhamokanyamsky. Geolocation of Russian forces at Krychorivka. This is a very interesting one. We only have this geolocation the day before of Ukrainian forces being there. Then the Crimea Caprice then geolocated the Russian forces in basically more or less the same position. So the Russian forces have advanced down along the river at the Seversky Donetsk River and are entering into Krychorivka. So we shall see how this continue to play out. Like I said, the terrain here is horrible. You can see this is terrible the geolocation, not geolocation, geography. So that's all. We move to the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, in the rear position, there's some shelling reported at Olekseyevo, Zrukivka, and Ilinivka. Not particularly important. It's very far away. I just indicate it out of habit. Over in the central region, at the Bakhmut front, fighting is reported towards Maiske. Fighting at Chasivia continue and fighting is reported at Stuposhki. The battle of Chasivia have been ongoing for like forever. There's no news, and like I said, I never feel like it's a good idea to attack Chasivia. This is the reason. It never ends. Over in the southern flank, fighting is reported at Andrievka towards Bilahora, Kudyumivka towards Dilievka, and Ozeryanivka. So there seems to be this push coming out from this southern flank, moving towards the thorax front. So this is a bit interesting, but I don't expect too much changes because this area here is also very difficult to fight. So we shall see how this continue to develop. Over in the thorax front, we have fighting reported at the Battle of Thorax. Fighting is reported at Skibenivka, Katerinivka, and Pleshievka, it was mentioned. Geolocation of Russian forces at the north of Krimsky, showing Russian forces have arrived at where the Brontosaurus live. So So this is where the Jurassic Park is, the DDFK Jurassic Park. So we shall continue to see how this goes. Hopefully they don't get stepped on by the Brontosaurus. Over in this Kateryniivka region, I already mentioned this in the previous SITREP. So this geolocation, this frontline change might be related to the fighting at Kateryniivka. So I should read out all these things. Give me a second. Okay, forget it. Yeah, forget it. I'm gonna get confused anyway. So never mind. So over in the New York sector, there is fighting reported towards Stara Mykolaiivka. But that's all. That's all for this. Moving into the Pokrov front. This is Pokrov. The Pokrov front continues to be very hot. A lot of fighting being reported, but no real big thing per se. So this frontline change I also have already mentioned that had happened. Fighting is being reported over at Malinivka, Yelizavetivka, Marolubivka, and shelling at Novoekonomishne. So this frontline change I already noted yesterday. So that's all. Nothing special about this. It's just a main push in this sector. Over in the Minohrad sector, we also have some operations in this sector. Fighting is reported at Lysivka towards Novopalivka, as well as fighting towards Pokrov. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces just off Sukia basically show the Ukrainians indeed is still here. Attracted some FPV drone strike at Sukia. So that's all. Over in the Pokrov sector, fighting is reported at Kotline. This one I already noted yesterday with the Ukrainian forces taking some grounds. Fighting is reported at Udashne, Novoserhievka, and Novo-Oleksandrivka. So nothing new about this. Over in the southern flank, fighting is reported at Nedievka, Kotylarivka, and Bodanivka. So this one is the Russian forces advancing in the north of Nedievka after the geolocations. Yeah, so that's all. We move on to the next front line, which is over at the Koma front. This Koma, over on the Andriivka sector, at the Andriivka sector, we have the usual fighting is reported at Andriivka, towards Oleksievka, Constantinople, Bahate, towards Odradne, and there's a geolocation of a strike on the bridge at Novo-Ukrenka, but not particularly important for now. Geolocation of M113 destroyed at Bahate. It was noted as a defeat or destroyed at Bahate. So that's all. Again, strategic situation doesn't change in this sector. Over in the Koma, there is shelling reported. Moving into the western side, we only have fighting reported at Vinipole and Privione. So this continues to be a thing. We move on to the Zaporizhzhia front. This is Zaporizhzhia. This is the Zaporizhzhia front. We have nothing at Huaypole and almost nothing at Orikhiv. Orikhiv, we only have shelling reported at Novopalivka, and over Kayamsky, we have fighting reported at Lokove. So it seems like there is a lull. There's like a cool down on this Zaporizhzhia front. Maybe the Russians cannot find a breakthrough. They are now regrouping. Maybe rotations. We're not sure. But we shall see. Maybe if it's a regrouping or something, you're going to take a few more days, not just one day. And over in the Kherson front, no one give a damn about this place. But if you want to know, Kozatsky getting shelled, reported by the Russians, and that's it. So I just want to note also the Ukrainians do report about shellings by the Russians. They also report as airstrikes at certain locations, but it's really clutter. If I just map everything in, it's just clutter. The Russian ones, I map it in is purely because they don't differentiate between the shelling and the attacks, which is why I have to map all of them. If not, it's going to get very confusing when I do mapping. So that's the main reason. The only place I don't map is Konstantinivka. Yeah, because the city is very big. Like, it wouldn't matters at all. So that's it. So thank you. Happy birthday for you. To you, if your birthday today. Check out the DP Open Mic. We have a very great conversation earlier. And also thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe, check, make sure you are subscribed and not got unsubscribed. A lot of people have corroborated the fact that they did indeed got unsubscribed. It doesn't apply to everybody, but when it happens to you, you'll be surprised to find out. So anyway, check it out and I'll see you guys in the next update.